Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our National Predators Throwback 2000 franchise mode here in NHL 24. So in last episode we started up the 2004-05 season, and we're off to a little bit of an inconsistent start. We're 19-17 3-2, which has us actually in a playoff spot at the moment. However, there is some underlying problems, I'd say, with this team, so I think we're going to probably still drop off in the second half, but there is a chance that we could make it back to the playoffs again, which is not really what I was expecting. Right now, we've been getting some pretty good offense from a couple guys, especially one Jason Spezza, who just recently got his 8-year extension as well. So very excited to see what he can do during those 8 years, and he will probably be here until he retires, unless for some reason we have to change up the team at some point. Scott Hartnell's also been really good with the 21 goals to lead the team, 37 points. I think he's kind of taking a little bit away of goal scoring from Steven Marita. That's why he only has the 16 goals. So maybe at some point down the road, we decide Hartnell should be on the second line and maybe Nagy should be a top liner instead, because Nagy's more of a passer. But in general, our top six has been pretty good. But you can see also the underlying problems that I was just mentioning with the plus minus, because we don't really have a lot of plus players on this roster. So obviously we need to be a little bit better defensively, and our goaltending needs to be much better if we want to have actually a chance to being a playoff team. Now, we are relying on a young 21-year-old goaltender who only played one AHL season, so maybe that's why we haven't been super good, but Rick DiPietro has definitely been the worst of the goaltenders so far, and there is a chance that we might trade him in this episode or next episode, because he is currently listed as a starting goaltender, yet he is a backup, and then we obviously have Sedin, who's listed as an elite goalie already, so it probably makes sense to trade on from Rick DiPietro at some point, which kind of sucks because I was kind of hoping that he'd be a starting goalie for us for a while before Sedin would take over, but Sedin's been growing at a pretty rapid pace. So yeah, there's basically that. And like I was saying, we are currently in a playoff spot, which is interesting. If we go to the Western Conference, you can see we have the 7th spot at the moment. And we're not really too far off of being like a top 3 team in the Western Conference, which is also kind of crazy. So I'm hoping that our team kind of maybe still takes a little bit of a step back, because I wasn't expecting to be a playoff team this year. However, if we do make the playoffs once again, it's not the end of the world, because obviously it gives our young guys a little bit more experience. But you can see teams like Detroit and LA have played more games than us, yet they have less points. The Calgary Flames have technically played less games than us, and they have not that much less points than us too, so they could maybe make a run for one of the last playoff spots too. But a lot of the teams that are outside of the playoffs have played more games than us at the moment. But anyways, before we simulate more of the 2004-05 season, let's get in your guys' comments and see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we will see what ends up happening up until probably a day before the trade deadline, because I think the trade deadline will be in next episode, just because I don't really know if I want to go through a full season of this. So the first comment is from Jared the Rabbit, who says, we got the mid-2000s versions of both Ivan and Marcel before GTA 6. And yeah, that was a little bit of a weird one, because in the draft, we drafted, I think it was Nicholas, wasn't it? If I'm not mistaken. Did we draft him, or did somebody else draft him? Yeah, somebody else must have drafted him. I can't remember what team drafted him. I was thinking that we drafted him for a second, but let me actually find him. Not on the find trade option. Let me go to player search. Because we should be able to find him. I don't know if he got his ELC yet, but he should still show up on the search function here. So let's see, Nicholas, and it's spelled like this. It's kind of weird spelling, but oh well. So yeah, there he is. Oh yeah, he is part of our team. I forgot he was already in the AHL. We brought him in, I think it was via trade, right? Yeah, he was the one with the trade with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So yeah, this is Nicholas. He had 14 points in 42 games in the AHL so far, so he's not been too bad. I don't really know if he's going to develop into being a good top 6 forward for us at some stage, but I hope he kind of can, because that's obviously a pretty meme name. So there is the original Ivan, I could say. The next comment is from Sound Otaku, says, might be the time to trade DiPietro now or at the trade deadline and use Dan Ellis as the backup. Scouting said the upcoming draft class is going to be weak, so if you're going to trade for picks, they should be for the 2006 season. So he's saying that if we decide to trade DiPietro to basically use Dan Ellis as a backup, which is pretty much what I was expecting to do anyways. And he said if we trade DiPietro for first round picks or picks in general, they should be for 06 and not for this year's draft, which I totally agree with, because even though in reality the 2005 draft was a really good draft, obviously because of Sidney Crosby, in this universe it doesn't look super strong, because you can see like a high 4 going at 4th overall. There is some other medium elite steals, but it's not the best draft class on paper, apparently. So we'll probably trade for a pick next year. However, there is a medium elite gem supposed to go 11th overall, which is kind of interesting. He is 3 years out, so there is some interesting players in this draft class that are supposed to go outside of the normal top 5, which is interesting. But yeah, this class is not very good because you have medium top 9s going in like late first round, early second round, so there's just not a lot of depth to it. So obviously, if we're going to trade for picks, we should probably make it for next year and not this season. And the last and final comment is from Michael Dos, who says, really looking forward to the young defenders making it to the national team. Any thoughts on their time frame? And I think most of them are probably like 1 to 3 years out, maybe at least, depending on the defenseman and if they actually develop well enough. Because obviously at the moment, Corzini is probably jumping to the NHL regardless next season. Jacques is very close. He could be NHL bound next season, or he could be back in the AHL or in his first year in the AHL because he's still in junior at the moment. So I think he's definitely going to be a tweener between the two of those. Shea Weber is also kind of probably going to be in the AHL next year, my guess, because obviously being that medium elite, I think he could jump up to being almost an NHL defenseman, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So maybe the AHL is the best route for him for 1 year, and then he could jump to us. Meanwhile, guys like Christoph Schubert, Ryan Suter, and stuff like that are probably still a little bit longer out because they're a little bit lower overall. But yeah, obviously there's a lot of good prospects in there. Like Mark Giordano is kind of not developing as fast as I was hoping he would. He's now up to a 69 at 21. And so far in the AHL, he's been kind of not great in a sense, like bad defensively, some good offense. But I hope that obviously he could develop into being that NHL defenseman in a few years. Like he might be a little bit of an overager when he makes it, just like he did in real life. So there is all that, and I think we're ready to continue to simulate. I do want to see what potentially we could get for DiPietro right now on the fine trade option. I don't know if I will trade him in this episode. I might wait till next episode, but I am curious on what kind of things Rick DiPietro could fetch me if I didn't look at this in the last episode. Not really a ton. The best I could get is a 3rd round pick from the Montreal Canadiens, who I believe are still an okay team in this, if I'm not mistaken. Colorado has 5th in Matthew Guérin, so we get a goalie right back, which is not really that bad. And then we get a 4th rounder from Carolina. Those aren't some bad offers, but I'm not going to take any of those just yet. Maybe at the deadline we'll do it. And then, like I said, Dan Ellis maybe could be our backup, which will mean Jimmy Howard could start in the AHL. So there's all that, and I think we're ready to continue to simulate and see if this team falls off or not. Like I said, I think this team probably will fall off based on some of the plus minuses. However, there is a chance that obviously this team could still do good enough to actually make it into the postseason because we're not too far off of actually leading the Central Division. So let's simulate to, we'll simulate a month at a time, but we'll simulate to a day before the deadline because the deadline will probably be in the next episode just in case, because I would prefer not to go through these seasons too quick in a sense, but at the same time, it doesn't matter that much, I guess, either. But let's see how good this team is going to do in this episode. Christoph Schubert, I guess, was injured in last episode. I honestly don't remember that, so I will just double check in case. And yeah, he was okay. Just got to make sure he's in the lineup because even though he's not the best prospect in the world, I would prefer, obviously, a defender actually playing on defense. And why was Andre Kostitsyn playing defense? I did not realize that. Oops, that's not great. Let's just try and make it as minimal defensive issues as possible. But damn, that's probably why the AHL team is having a little bit of struggles. Because there's no way you should play Andre Kostitsyn as a defender. But, oh well. Let's continue to simulate, see what ends up happening here. Teams are still calling on Wade Belak, which is kind of interesting because Wade Belak is, I'd say, not a part of my long-term future on this team, but you never know. Okay. So far, we're a little bit inconsistent still to start this episode, as you'd expect. Some ties, some losses, and wins. But those ties are definitely going to still help us in terms of making the playoffs, potentially, too. Okay, so Mark Morrow is back, which is good. We'll get him back into the lineup, because obviously we need defenders in the lineup and not forwards, in a sense, on that defensive core. It looks like Nicholas has jumped up to a 67, so he's getting some pretty good growth so far this year. Also very excited for Winnick, considering he's got that elite potential. So we do have guys in a system that I'm excited about, especially on defense, but offensively there's some guys as well that should be exciting to see if they end up making it. Tampa's fired their head coach, Stan Barry. So Tampa's fired a lot of head coaches, I'm pretty sure, in the series at this point. So that's kind of insane. So they fire another head coach, and we are 24, 19, 5, and 3. So we actually had a pretty solid month, because we after this episode started here. So technically, we only had three losses. One was an overtime loss, but obviously that still counts towards the loss department. In terms of ties, we had 2 ties, and then everything else was a win. So yeah, it was a really good month for this team in terms of actually trying to solidify a playoff spot. And Spezza is still point per game, which is also good. We have played the most games in the division other than the Red Wings, and we're only a point back. So there is still a chance that we could win the Central Division, which is not really what I had in mind this year, because a lot of you guys were saying, hey, this team is probably going to take a step back. But even with our bad defensive core, we've been able to win games. So if we want to actually make a deeper run in the playoffs in a sense, maybe we want to upgrade our defensive core at the trade deadline in the next episode. There's a chance on that. But obviously, this team, I don't think it should go too far unless it's just our offense that kind of carries us. Let's go to the end of this month, I guess, and the start of March. And then the trade deadline's literally the day afterwards. McClement was never injured. Back-to-back shutout losses, but then we win against Edmonton. A 0-0 tie with the Caps. Jeez, and then we win 2 games in a row. That 0-0 tie must have been so boring to watch as well. That's, I think, the second time we've seen that in this series at least. And this team is absolutely cooking in this month too. Wow, what a month for the team. Okay, 33, 23, 6, and 3. So I think at this rate, we are going to be a playoff team. This team is having a better second half of the season than I expected because, like I said, I think our team was going to drop off. However, we lose 2 games to start the month, not scoring a single goal. Then we score 6 goals and win 6-3. Then we don't score a single goal, but we got a tie out of it. Then we go on a 4-game winning streak, then lose 1. Then we go on a 2-game winning streak, then lose 1. Then we go on a 2-game winning streak again. And all of a sudden, this team might be the best team in the Central Division at the moment. No, they're not. They're second best, but we have played the most games now. So we got to take that into account when looking at the standings and all that. But let's take a look at some player stats and also the standings to see where we're updated at. And we'll take a look at the trading block and all that stuff too. But I think this team actually might make it back to the playoffs based on that month alone. Because we've already played 65 games at this point in time. Now, the Philadelphia Flyers are absolutely cooking, so that's a pretty scary team. I don't think we're going to be a cup contender this year, but for our team to be doing as good as they are, I'm relatively impressed, considering how low our defensive core is. Like, our defensive core is nothing special, so we're not even in the top 8 in the league. What about the Western Conference? We're in 5th place now, so we have jumped up a couple spots. The St. Louis Blues are the only team that we're chasing interdivision. However, they have played 4 less games than us. What about the points percentage? Where are we in the standings? Based on points percentage, we are in 6th place. Okay. That's not too bad. Well, so we're still relatively right around the same spot as we were before. But if we look at teams that are outside of the playoffs, let's go to points, I guess. We have 72 and 65. The teams that are outside the playoffs have 60 and 64, which is only 1 less game than us, but 12 less points. Yeah, I think we're probably really close to clinching the playoffs spot. Like, the LA Kings have played 1 more game than us, yet they're way less points than us. So I think it's almost very close that we're going to clinch a playoff spot this year. And Vancouver's once again going to be one of the worst teams in the league, which means they're going to get more elite prospects for their roster. That's kind of nuts. All right. I did want to take a look at goals for and stuff like that across the league to see if we're actually doing anything good or if we're just simulating well. In terms of offense, we are not super good offensively. We're like mid-table or a little bit below mid-table. In terms of goals against, we must be good in this department, right? A little bit around mid-table. Yeah, we're good defensively. Our power play has been pretty bad, it looks like. Yeah, we have one of the worst power plays in the league. Yet we're kind of high in the standings. And then penalty kill has been one of the best in the league. So yeah, the defense in the penalty kill has been really good, which is not what I was expecting. We've been a better road team than a home team, and we're 8-2-0 in our last 10 games. All right, let's take a look at his player stats and see who's been doing what so far. Dan Marino must have went off in that this episode based on some stats, but 67 points in 65 games for Jason Spezza. He's been still very good. And he's only going to get better from here on out. So very excited that we locked him up when we did. David Legwand's on 42 points. He's also been really good as like a second/third line center kind of guy. I like him a lot. Joe Pavelski, 16 points, not too bad. The -9 kind of sucks, but he is in his first season. He should start to develop a little bit more, and he might be like a third-line center for us next year, which is exciting. Or he could play on the right side. There's always that chance. Left wing side of things, Marita those up to 31 goals and 62 points in 65 games. I think, if I'm not mistaken, what did he have to start this episode? Wasn't it like 17 or something like that? Or I feel like it was even less than that. I think it was like 15 or something. I don't even know exactly, but he must have went on a very good stretch during that month. It's kind of crazy that he has 31 goals, but only 3 of them have been on the power play. So he has just been scoring a lot, 5-on-5, I guess. Hartnell's down to 59 points in 65 games and less goals than Marita, but Hartnell was definitely scoring more than Marita beforehand. So Hartnell went through a little bit of a dry spell goal scoring wise. Marita picked up a lot. Nagy on 45 points is great. Marteshko on 23, but a -10. Lubos is still a little bit inconsistent. He's got some good offensive tools, but his defense has not been there. Kopecky, 11 points, ain't too bad considering he's only a 78. -5 is not bad either. Right wing side of things, Steve Sullivan on 56 points. He's been good. Van Allen in his rookie season up to 25 points and 16 goals. He's been okay. Obviously, he's going to be a better goal scorer once he gets higher in the lineup down the road. Nilsson on 19 points, not bad, but a -7. Erad on 13 points, -10. Yeah, I don't know if Martin Erad's going to pan out in the series, which is interesting. And then Cesar still has only played those 2 games. Defensively, Delmore on 34 points. He's still been very solid. He's got 14 points in this episode, if I'm not mistaken. And he's a +18, too. Teppo Newman is starting to pick up a little bit more offense, too, which is nice. Daly on 18 points and a +15. It looks like we're getting some solid offense from our defense, which is kind of surprising because I wouldn't consider any of these defenders offensive defensemen other than Andy Delmore. Teppo Newman is like kind of more of a two-way, same with Trevor Daly. And the rest of these guys are kind of more defensively oriented. From a goaltending perspective, Sedin has been very good. Holy crap. Okay, so Sedin turned it around that month completely because he went from a 900 save percentage to a 910 save percentage. And he's got 5 shutouts now. So he's picked up like another 3 shutouts, I think, in this episode. And he's got the 2.8 goals against. Also, DiPietro has picked up his play quite a bit, too. Because that goals against average was like at a 4.17. Now it's a 3.43. So there is a chance, though, that Marcus Sedin could end up being up there for the Calder this year based on his numbers. Like, I'm actually really impressed. Like, he's kind of acting almost like Pekka Rinne would have if Pekka Rinne would have been in the series. 4 assists as well from Sedin. Sedin is the new Pekka Rinne. That's what it seems like, for sure. Wow. So shout out to Marcus Sedin. I hope he actually ends up winning the Calder this year. I don't think he will because goalies relatively do not win the Calder in this game, but could happen. In terms of the rest of the league for now, Yager's leading in points. Martin Ruchinski is leading up there too. That's kind of weird. The Habs are having a good year based on some stats. Okay. Just wanted to briefly take a look at this. Lidstrom leading in defense. Okay. Goalies, Cristobal Ue. Dominic Hasek's been good as well. And Sedin's actually up there in wins and stuff. Okay. Amongst starters and save percentage, he has been one of the better goalies too, probably. Best rookie this season in terms of points right now is Thomas Vanek. So this is who Sedin would be competing with for Rookie of the Year. Is Vanek, Louis Eriksson, those type of guys. Bergeron's got 28 goals in his rookie season, so that's pretty damn impressive. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Sedin has a chance for the Calder this year. It would be exciting to see a goalie win a Calder. Henrik Lundqvist has also been very good apparently as a rookie, but a very bad save percentage compared to Sedin. So there is that. Let's take a quick look at the trading block and all that stuff and see if there's anything out there for potentially trades for next episode. But I think this team's going to end up making the playoffs regardless at this point. So we might as well, if we're going to make a trade, it's to upgrade our team and not downgrade us necessarily. And then maybe we could trade away DiPietro at the draft in the offseason or something instead. So there's some pretty good players in Atlanta like Andrew Burnett, but I don't really think I want to make anything. I don't know if I really want to make us too good on the offensive side of things. Like, I'd prefer to maybe upgrade our defense if we're going to upgrade anything. Stefan Yell, Sammy Paulson. Any defensemen? Right now, there's a lot of forwards. There is Brian McCabe, but signed for 4 years. Brian McCabe's pretty decent, though, but he is making a lot of money. Boris Mironov, Patrice Brisebois. for 1 year. That's not bad if we wanted to upgrade our defense, but he is currently injured at the moment. He has been also pretty good this season. Danny Markov is also on the block. He's been actually pretty good too. Damn. But Chicago is fighting to get into the playoffs, so I don't understand why they'd want to move all these guys out. Colorado, not really much of anything. Andre Zuzin on the block ain't too bad, but he's pretty much what we have. Kim Janssen's not bad either. Yeah, Kim Janssen's not really that bad of an option, to be honest, if we really wanted to upgrade our defense. But I don't really know if it's necessary for our team to even upgrade anything, because we could just see how our team does in the playoffs and kind of make adjustments with needed. Like I said, we have a lot of defenders coming to the NHL next season and seasons beyond this. So I don't really know if it's worth upgrading just for a year. There is Rob Blake, though. That is a really good defenseman to have. He is 36 years old now, though. It has dropped off quite a bit. But he is still picking up a lot of points. And he has been really bad this year defensively. Yeah, if we're going to bring in a defenseman, Rob Blake would be very intriguing. I just don't know what we'd have to give up to get him. It'd probably be a lot of value. Which I don't know if I even have a lot of value to get him. Because I'm not willing to get rid of a top prospect, I don't think. Like, I don't think I want to give up Giordano to get him. Because I think I would prefer to wait until Giordano's ready for the NHL. Before actually thinking about trading him. Pittsburgh has nothing. A lot of prospects on the block, so there isn't too much. That's a Toskala. No, thank you. If we needed a backup and we want to get rid of DiPietro, bring in Toskala, that'd be kind of funny. Brian Holzinger, some forwards in Tampa. Yeah, Tampa's still a really not great team. It's interesting. Toronto wants to offload a lot of good forwards. Vancouver has nothing really on the block that's very intriguing. Washington, same type of boat. Some good defenders or okay defenders, but nothing that screams insane to me. So there is that. Was there anything else I wanted to take a look at? I feel like there was, but I can't remember what it was. What was it that I wanted to take a look at? I don't even honestly remember, and I'm gonna probably remember at the end of after I'm done recording this. Let's actually go to this tracker. Oh yeah, it was if there was any trades. That's what I wanted to take a look at. So there has been some trades this season. So far, Jason Smith and Joseph Baranek got dealt from Dallas to Florida for basically some picks. Anaheim got Mike Leclerc back and Steve Monador. So Steve Monador going to Anaheim a little bit early for a second and a third round pick. So a couple trades happened already. It'll be interesting to see what happens in next episode in terms of trades. I actually did also want to take a look at the message center, just see if anything was up there on Morita, if he was scoring a lot of goals or something like that, because I'm pretty sure he had to have multiple hat tricks at least in this episode alone, or he just scored a lot of goals in general, because our team completely cooked over the last little bit in this episode. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any stat lines here. If you guys see any other stat lines that you want to bring up, let me know, because there's some kind of cool stat lines in this type of thing. And I don't really look through the message center that much. Probably should look through it a little bit more often just to give you guys a little bit more of a scene of what's happening around the league. We won 6-3. Admirals won a game. Good to see. Not really seeing anything in terms of us that... Oh, there's another one. Marcus Seating gets a shutout over Arizona 3-0. So that was one of his shutouts that he got in that last little bit. Is there any other notifications though about our Preds? Doesn't seem like it. Kind of surprised on that. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Nashville Predators Throwback 2000 franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to the 2005 trade deadline. We'll maybe make some trades depending if we think we want to upgrade our defense or something like that. Or we could just basically run with the team we currently have, because obviously we do got defenders coming in the next few years that we don't really want to offload any of those involved in trades. So we might just want to keep our roster the same for the rest of the year and kind of just see what they do in the playoffs again, because I'm pretty sure we're going to be a playoff team at this rate unless we have a very bad month of March. I think we're going to be in the postseason again, which means seeing Spezza and Morita do some damage potentially. Sensing down below, and I'll see you guys next time.